Welcome everyone to Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews. This is Thomas today with a Cadillac ATS Coupé. So we're in the middle class segment, not only a sedan but also a coupé. So a very fancy car actually, and interesting for our American friends because it has been already there since 2012, so still quite fresh. Will be very interesting what we Germans have to say about this car. And for the European market, even more interesting because in Germany hardly really anyone is driving this exact car, so also hardly anyone knows it. So it will be very interesting also to compare it to other competitors. Main competitor is actually the BMW 4 Series. You know, they have renamed it from BMW 3 Series Coupé to the 4 Series now. And it's also kind of equal in price if you compare the same engines. So it's very competitive car, and the price is already very promising. And let's see how this car is actually different to the German premium manufacturers, what it is capable of. We take a detailed look at the exterior, interior, and of course at the driving experience. And by the way, right at the end, we'll show you also a very funny outtake we did today. So let's go now. So we're starting with the exterior, and there Cadillac really has a unique selling point because it's so different from all the other manufacturers. We got this huge front grille here with a huge Cadillac logo, and here you already see they got a special design scheme, and I would call it the V design scheme, because we have a symmetric portion here and it all goes to the right and left and in this kind of V form, and we see it really all over the car. Another distinguishable aspect are the headlights. They come as a xenon headlights here in the German version from standard equipment, and they have all drawn away to the back and so very spectacular. I'll show you different aspects of this V design scheme here. For example, on the power dome we also get it right in the central middle part, so the car is really kind of separated in two halves in a symmetric way, and that's a very impressive design scheme. Look at the side profile of the car. My opinion, I really love it. What about you? I want to hear your comments on that. I think it's very, very powerful. Look at all the edges they have used and different design lines. Very powerful ending here as well, the coupé style ending. Then they have the design line here on the height of the handlebars with light, shadow, another design line right here. The door handles, by the way, they are illuminated at night, also another nice feature. And there's also the puddle light available here, which lights up this area here that you can get in the car easily also at night. The alloys, 18-inch, also very fitting to this car. 18-inch is from serial production here with a car that comes for 40,000 euros, and I think it's like 38,000 bucks in the US for this car, the 2.0 turbo petrol engine. These 18-inch also fit quite well in the contrast to this color, which makes it even more powerful. It's called Obsession Red, and I think it's a very fitting name in this case. Then let's take a look at the rear. You see this design line is carried over until the tailgate. It's again this symmetrical, and they didn't want to be smooth. The designers really want to be aggressive, and so we also got this vertical taillight here. I think something very different than from all of the other competitors. So if you have this car, especially in Europe, everyone will look and wow, what's that kind of car? And I think that creates a lot of attention. But by the way, I also want to hear your comments, especially from our US guys, if this car in America will attract so much attention or if it's more like a common car. By the way, another nice detail, we got this hand-signed Cadillac stamp on here. That's, I think, very nice detail. I want to see more of that. In this very version, 2.0 liter turbo, we got two tailpipes here, as well as the ATS 4 logo stands for the all-wheel drive version. So let's take a look beneath the hood. This one is, as I said, the 2.0 liter turbo version, which is the entry version here in Europe and also in America. 276 horsepower, 6.2 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers, so already a good performance. For our friends in the US, there's also the 3.6 liter V6 available, then with 320 horsepower. And soon, everywhere, there will also be the new V version, the top sports version, with a V8 and 450 horsepower. And that one will then only use 4 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers or 0 to 60 miles an hour. So also will be exciting to test that one. But today here with the 2 liter turbo, and as has could already say now, about 10 liters consumption, 10.5 liters consumption on 100 kilometers. Could be actually a little bit less, but you already got this 276 horsepower. For me, I think it's not too good to get so much horsepower out of a small engine. I rather prefer a cylinder more than, or maybe more displacement, because I'm basically an eco-friendly guy, but this downsizing doesn't really use much as for the consumption. So welcome here to the interior. See, we got an aluminum style on the inside of the doors. It's very well done design-wise. And then you can take a look at the other interior parts. For example, the steering wheel here, it's rather small, also very thick actually, so something very different if you take an Audi, for example. The only thing is that these buttons here on the steering wheel, they don't look too good. You see, they are also illuminated when I turn on the ignition, and you can see what is actually on there, but I turn it off so far because we have the beeping sound here. This, for example, the automatic cruise control. Heated steering wheel is available as well. Already with the standard equipment, we got Bluetooth connection in here, for example, so also some features that are usually not with the serial equipment you have to buy optionally. Also, the two-zone climate control is already included. Taking a look at the seats here, from the basic equipment you get for about 40,000 euros in Germany, or also in the US for 38,000 bucks. You first got the Fox leather seats. I think it's a very good solution because you offer something that is visually attractive but doesn't kill animals. This one here, however, is the high equipment, the premium version. These one are the real leather seats, and here are also perforated, that the seat heating can come through better. For example, in the front, you can change the length of the seats, and at the sides there are the controls actually put it in the front or in the back again, but that's actually a little bit strange because this one here, for example, is for the back, and then this one here can actually change how tight the sides of the seats are. And I was a little bit confused by the way that it's all split, and also just hear the sound. It sounds a little bit loud and cheap when I move the seats here. Seating check. I'm 1.86 meters tall. Got the seat that is very low, but usually I want to have it not that kind of lean back, so I put it a little bit more upward, and then you see I'm always touching the ceiling with my hairs, and that's because we also got the panoramic roof in here. This one is very small actually, but I'm still glad that I have one, but it also reduces your head clearance, so they haven't really used the space here. Then another look from this perspective, the steering wheel. Again, I must say it's a good grip, and it reminds us also on an Opel or Vauxhall model, so General Motors seems to fancy this kind of steering wheel style. The general seating comfort is quite good. On a basic level, I've experienced better seats, but also worse ones. What's actually quite fancy also are the shifting pads here, because, well, it's a plastic cover, yes, but it's shiny in this silver style, and that looks very good, I think. The columns, everything else is kind of rather a good quality, I must say. Nothing special, but also nothing that is any worse. So let's turn on the ignition then and look at the instruments and also at the central touchscreen. At the instruments we got the RPM meter right here, speed in the middle, then a digital screen below there where we, for example, can see the consumption. And on the right we can see the fuel status and also the temperature. And what is quite interesting that we have used 10.5 liters and 100 kilometers for this 2.0 liter turbo engine. That's already quite a lot, I think. Some more interior details. You see there's an artificial leather covering with contrast stitches on the inside of the doors. Looks quite fancy, I think, but I think maybe they could continue it everywhere because we still find some cheap plastic elements below that. Also here we get a very interesting design again, but mixed of a lot of different things. So I'm not sure if they really knew what to use there. It looks a little bit they would have thrown the dices. You always need a microfiber for this car. First of all, the glossy black areas here, they get the fingerprints and also collect the dust, as you see. And also the GPS, you cannot just clean it with a normal tissue then. Also is collecting a lot of fingerprints here. But in general, the system is quite well to use because it's rather intuitive. It goes here, don't watch General Lopez here right now. So we go to the home button again. For example, you can also take a look at the GPS. You see, either I can use the touchscreen there or the buttons below. I think the GPS view is rather old-fashioned, nothing really special, but just to get an impression of how it really looks. We can, for example, also zoom in or zoom out. Zooming out now. And what is quite strange that maybe you hear it. I'm not quite sure if you get it on the microphone, but I hear a kind of clicking sound, and I also get a feedback at my fingertip. It's kind of a small vibration then. And the same is happening with the buttons here below. For example, if I want to change the volume, I either hold this one here or I have to push it really. Or if I want to turn it off. So these ones are really not buttons here. This is not a button. You see? The button is up there. This is kind of the button, and there you see it can be moved a little bit. And then I also have the feedback. Actually, I don't want to have the radio now, so what do I do? Well, to turn off the radio. Okay, you see how the system, I can't really make fast changes here now, because I also want to turn off the total. Yeah, now it's mute, finally. So, and let's go to the home button again. For example, I can also show you the setup here, touchscreen again. Okay, there you can. So it's not that fast, actually, not that good. I'm not too satisfied with it. Also with the heated seats here, I can turn on the engine and we can use it here, for example. Okay, 3 levels here, and you always get this kind of vibration feedback, but still, even though you get this feedback here, it's not the best solution. I think it's a different solution, and I was really astonished about the solution. I think it always takes ages to control everything. Of course, you can hold your finger, but still, it takes ages again. So I think they wanted to do something different here, but I think they failed in doing something different, which is better than the ordinary. Again, the Cadillac designers followed this design scheme with a symmetrical split here and the V form. I think it's very well done here as well, just from design-wise. By the way, it's a power stop light down there. Then this one is the automatic shifting lever. In general, I'm quite satisfied also with the transmission here. Just the shifting lever, I think it looks a little bit like from the Infiniti Q50. Or what do you think? Then here, the beverage box. It's in bomb rubber here, so you can also put some quite larger stuff in here, but also rather cheaply done, I think. Then let's open the middle box. And a good test is everywhere, because 2 USB, that's in 1 SD slot, that's quite good. But then I always test how fixed and attached is something in here. And if we move on this one here, we see this one also cannot catch up to the German manufacturers. But in general, I think it's quite of solid everything here. And yes, it's already premium, I would definitely say that, but not high-class premium, let's take it that way. By the way, there's also a head-up display available. You see it right here. It's not flickering in real time. It's just because the camera FPS is better than the HUD. The way I just see how you can see the RPM meter, but you also can put other information in here. For example, you can just leave it out, or you can put some information from the car, from the radio, or also from the GPS in there, so you can adjust the info, and you also can also adjust the height of the head-up display. It's really helpful, and I really like this feature. By the way, also the brightness can be changed, but I'm not sure how you can really see it. When you put it brighter, actually the flickering rate in the camera is not that extreme. Let's take a look at the versatility of the car. First of all, I try the comfort close or opening. So if you hold the closing button, in a lot of cars, the windows would come up now. They can easily get in or out the car when it's very slim here, because seriously, a neighbor of us in the basement garage, he said, if you open the door of your Cadillac, please pay attention, because the door is so wide opening here. And if you could close the window with the key, it would be easier to get in than even if it's kind of narrow. So by the way, the key itself, I think it's very nicely designed, because first of all, the logo on it, and then it keeps the same design scheme. Although it's not the most high-class material, you see here there's this split symmetrical line and still the V design scheme. And so praise the key designers, because they also kept the basic concept of the car design in here. Then, if you want to carry some person in the back here, you can put this lever here. It's actually going faster in the front than it would be at the lower part, and you can also flip the seat. But then I'm not sure what they thought about that, because they didn't attach the seat belt in the lower part at the B pillar here, which is kind of not existing in the coupe, but let's just call it B pillar here. It's attached at the seat. And so you ask yourself, what do I do now? You have two solutions, and I actually tested it with my grandparents, and that was kind of funny, because either you can pull this one here up, then someone can enter here, or you can pull it down. But that's not the best solution, because someone would be hitting the foot in here and then will maybe stumble over it. So I prefer to go under the seat belt, playing a little bit of circus here. And then we realize that we hardly don't have any space here. Let's see how far back I can put the seat. Of course, it's all adjustable. As I would be driving, I would be, I think, a little bit more far back. Now my knees are already hitting the front of the seat. And even more critical is my head space, because here I can't really sit here. Only if I move my head way back, then there's kind of a small hole in the back here, but it's not really possible very well. So I can't recommend any adult here in the back seats. Of course, yes, it's okay, it's a coupe, but other competitors in this car, in this class here, they have way more space. Let's open the trunk, and again, we don't have much space here. Everything is kind of solid again. See a small opening as we use from a sedan. Also doesn't go that steep in there. So, well, you can't do much from it, just the basic space. And if I take a look at the rear seats again, I maybe find a solution to flip it. Then you can see how you can put some longer things in here. There it's possible. It's a 1/3, 2/3 split here. Then you can at least load some longer things in here. Now start driving, turning the automatic shifting lever to D. Let's see how the turning circle is. Actually, it's not that kind of narrow, rather wide turning circle. I also realized it when parking the car in the basement garage. Then the steering wheel, very compact, very thick, as I already told you in the standard interior explanation. Let's now test here the roundabout for the dynamic. Well, you see you have to turn the steering wheel quite wide, so the steering is not really that progressive. But I already feel it's a rather sporty ride. The suspension is quite stiff, keeping me kind of sporty. I think it's also good because you expect this from a coupe in this class. Then let's now test here right and left. Oh, that was the emergency brake which was setting in because a car was standing next to us and I was testing the right and left. But interesting to see that the emergency braking function already reacts in this situation. Also, it was kind of false now. So I think, well, the steering isn't too indirect. It's a lot of fun with this ride here, I can already say. Let's go to this road here. Let's push the throttle a little bit harder. Over here there's not too much sound from the 2.0 liter turbo engine. So of course you get more when you pick with a V6. It's a rather silent engine, I must say. So when I'm standing still here right now, I almost feel nothing. So if you don't expect this very harsh sound or very good sound from a V6, see it's a lot of high RPMs and the sound is also according to these high RPMs. So I cannot recommend the engine from the sound. But in general, for everyday driving, it's a really good engine because you've got a good acceleration and a rather silent ride. Also, the sound insulation is quite good, I think. So in general, you have quite a relaxed and silent ride, and it's still quite a lot of sport in there when you really want it, especially from the suspension. When is the suspension maybe not that comfortable? Yes, when you're going over some bumps, when the road is not that even. For example, now we're trying speed bumps. Well, this one is actually quite okay. But when there are holes in the road, then you realize that the suspension is not the best for this one. So as for the riding, I think it's a very fun car. And I think, especially in Europe, hardly anyone thinks about, oh, should I maybe pick a Cadillac? Just think about, okay, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and that's it kinda. I think you should take it into consideration, basically, because right now really hardly anyone is buying it. But you have to realize, for example, a BMW is better in suspension, also better in the sporty riding. And for example, if you think about the Volkswagen Corporation models, they are especially good for this progressive steering then. And finally, the Mercedes is also way more comfortable then and has more high class in the interior, for example. So we continue our riding test here. Again, I must say, I have fun riding the car, yes. And of course also because I know it looks so amazing from the exterior and everyone is looking in no matter where I go. And of course, I would look at the car personally myself. So in general, I think I was quite satisfied here now with the riding. Told you more about the details. I think I've ridden better 3-door coupes, but also worse one. In general, I think it's already premium, also from a driving experience. Also something else, for example, than an Opel or Vauxhall, which is also coming from General Motors company. Okay, let me just get in here and push it hard for another time, very hard. Wow, yeah, very good. Very good acceleration, I must say. It's really astonishing what they can put out of this rather small engine. Although, as I already said, it's maybe not the best solution to get so much horsepower out of these small engines. But you know, also the Volkswagen Corporation is doing that kind of a lot. And sometimes also gets problems with it when the engines fail earlier than the bigger ones with more displacements then. So these ones are the general riding infos. We can take another look at some more detailed aspects. You know, for example, the rear view camera or some more other details about riding. Rear view camera. It is from a serial equipment here in the basic version already in Germany. I also think in the US as well. So I think the resolution is not the best one, but in general, I think it's a good feature and all that they could include it in the serial equipment because the German manufacturers rather sell naked cars. Then you can also use it while parking in. And then what's quite astonishing as well, moving forward here now, and as I get closer to the objects nearby, I don't get any acoustic warning, but I get it with the vibration in the seat. That is also a very nice solution. It's uncommon, but I think something different. The first time as I got this vibration as something was in proximity at the front, I was like, oh my God, what's happening here? But it was just a vibration in the seat. I think it's also something new what they thought about, and maybe also a good solution that you don't hear this beeping all the time. When we now drive forward again, what else can I say about the all-wheel drive? Because we got the optional all-wheel drive version here. It's about 3,000 bucks extra, but actually does pay off in a kind of way, because if you would just have 276 horsepower just at the rear wheels, they would tend to spin, because this platform here is rear-wheel driven plus front wheel, and now we can get the power better to the ground because all the four wheels are applied, so the torque can be also shifted to the front wheel, and also makes it better actually for winter drives, and of course, because when it's snowy or rainy conditions, then you also got another safety aspect. It's not really necessary, but it's also of course a nice feature to have with the all-wheel drive. So let me conclude about the Cadillac ATS Coupé. It was a very astonishing ride. Why? First of all, the exterior is so unique and very different from all the other premium manufacturers. So especially in Europe, this can be a selling factor because hardly anyone is driving it. But I also want to know from our European as well as the American and worldwide viewers what you think about the car. For me personally, I really love the exterior, also the interior styling. But however, quality-wise, it's generally solid. But the German premium cars are really higher class from the interior, especially if you look at the knobs on the steering or something like that. Also from the concept that you don't really have knobs where you can press in. You have this vibration concept on the touchscreen kind of style. I didn't really like it. I think it's different, yes, but it's not good different, it's rather bad different. However, from the exterior, I think it's good different. So I really prefer that. And you don't have a lot of space in there. That's another negative aspect, especially the rear seats are kind of, well, hardly have any use at all. And also the head space inside for 12 people is also very limited. So they haven't really used the space they have. Also the trunk is limited as well. So if you want to go for the car, you really have to be keen on that very strong design. You don't need so much space in the interior. You don't want this very perfection from the German manufacturers in the interior as for the quality inside. And you also want a rather sporty ride because the suspension is rather stiff. It's not too uncomfortable, but just when a lot of bumps there were, it was not that on the same level than we know from Audi, BMW and Mercedes. So that's kind of the comparison also to the competitors. Not so much perfection, something different with the design. And well, just on the technical level, very good, but not there yet as the others are. But in general, I must say it's a very good alternative when you think about the middle class coupe segment. You should take a look at it and maybe go for a test ride, because this one will also be the final conclusion then, because you have to feel the car for yourself at some time. So thank you very much for watching. I want to hear your comments on all of the exterior, interior, and also what I thought about driving the car. And maybe you own this very car, or also competitors, and have your own experience with that one, and I want to read more about that. So see you next time at Autogefühl. And for the European market, it's even more interesting because we don't know the Cadillac so far. So we haven't had... Was ist das denn jetzt? Geil. Müssen wir unbedingt hierher fahren, ne?